Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling what might be the single biggest hurdle for anyone who owns property in Georgia, the renovation. It's a process that is just filled with traps, but if you get it right, it's the most important thing you can do for your investment. So let's jump right in. You've just bought your place, you're excited. What's the biggest risk you're facing? Now, you're probably thinking about the housing market, or maybe the location. But here in Georgia, the one thing that can truly make or break your investment is something way more hands-on.
That's it. The renovation itself. This one process literally dictates your property's value, how easily you can rent it out, and frankly, your own peace of mind. So think of this explainer as your roadmap. We're going to walk through how to navigate this whole thing, how to avoid the common disasters, and ultimately how to protect your asset, all based on what the local experts have to say.
Okay, so your first huge decision happens right when you buy the property, and believe me, it sets the stage for everything else. The question is, do you go for a black frame apartment, which is basically a concrete shell, or a white frame one that kind of looks like it's halfway done? The answer is, not what you'd expect.
Now, most people hear white frame and they think, oh, perfect, half the work's already done for me. It just sounds easier, right? But here's the twist. A black frame, that empty concrete box, gives you the most valuable thing you can have in this process, 100% control over the quality, right from the very beginning.
And I want to be really clear here, these are not some rare, worst-case scenarios. This stuff is incredibly common. See, to save money, developers often use the absolute cheapest materials and labor they can find for those white frame finishes. What does that mean for you? It means you could end up spending thousands of dollars just to demolish their so-called finished work before you can even begin.
So here's the bottom line. Choosing a black frame saves you from paying for the same job twice. First, you're not paying the developer for their shoddy work that's hidden inside that white frame. And second, you're not paying a new team to come in, rip it all out, and fix it.
All right, so you've made the smart choice. You've got your black frame apartment. Now comes the next million-dollar question. Who are you actually going to trust to build this thing out? You've really got three main options.
Let's break this down a bit. Going with the developer's own renovation team, well, it seems convenient, but these packages are almost always designed for short-term tourist rentals, not for real, comfortable living. They usually have zero storage, weird layouts, and they use materials that just fall apart in the local climate. Okay, now we need to talk about this one, because hiring a private contractor when you're not in the country, this is a massive trap. This is where so many foreign investors get into serious trouble, losing a ton of time and money, because trying to manage a construction project from thousands of miles away is just a recipe for disaster.
And this quote pretty much says it all. This is the reality on the ground. If you're not there in person to vet the contractors, to check in on the progress, to control the money, you become a very, very easy target for fraud. And it happens all the time.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. Even if you find an honest team, you can't see the quality of the wiring they're putting inside the walls or the plumbing that's going under the floor until long after it's all sealed up. And that is exactly why you need a system of control, which brings us to the single most important tool in this entire project. Now listen, it doesn't matter who you hire, the developer, a private crew, or a big professional company. There is one document you absolutely, positively must have before anyone even thinks about picking up a hammer. And let's be super clear about what this is. This is not about picking out paint colors or nice furniture. A design project is the actual architectural blueprint for your renovation. It is a detailed set of technical drawings that tells the builders precisely where every single wire, every pipe, and every electrical socket is supposed to go. Well, what happens if you try to skip this step and just wing it? You might think you can just figure it out as you go. Well, the answer from experienced builders who've seen it all is pretty stark. It's not a question of if things go wrong, it's a question of how wrong they go. This is a direct warning. Without a plan, every little decision turns into a big argument on the construction site. Where do you want this outlet? How high should we put this switch? You'll be forced to make bad compromises on the spot that just ruin the final outcome and create constant, stressful conflict. So why are we being so intense about getting every little detail of the renovation just right? Because when it comes to the financial success of your property, honestly, nothing else even comes close. It's the number one thing. It drives everything. What you can sell it for, how much you can rent it out for per month, and how fast you can find a buyer or a tenant. So let's look at the two possible ways this can play out. The difference is pretty shocking.
I want you to really let that sink in. A bad renovation has a negative value. It makes your property worth less than if you had just left it as an empty concrete box. Why? Because any smart buyer looks at that cheap, tasteless work, and all they see is a massive, expensive demolition project they have to pay for. It becomes a liability, not an asset.
So the biggest takeaway is this. You have to treat your renovation not as an expense you need to minimize, but as the single most important investment you will make in that property. Trying to cut corners here isn't saving money. It's just financial self-sabotage.
Because in the end, a great renovation isn't just about getting a higher sale price. It's about creating a space that actually improves the quality of life for whoever lives there, whether that's you or your tenants. And that human element, that feeling of comfort and joy, is what truly drives long-term value. Thank you for watching.